This tutorial is for 5th grade, Module 6, Lesson 13. In this lesson, we're going to take a closer look at parallel lines on a coordinate plane. The directions here say to use your straight edge to draw a segment parallel to each segment through the given point. Well, the first thing we need to review is the definition of parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines that will never cross each other. They run in the same direction, and they are always the same distance apart. And we're going to use that last part of the definition to help us draw the lines on this coordinate plane. So if we look at the first line in problem A, I need to draw a line that is parallel to this line, and it needs to run through point S. So if I look at the end point of this line across from the S, you'll see that those 2 points are 2 units apart. Since parallel lines always stay the same distance apart, I know that I have to draw the line so it is always 2 units apart from the original line. So I'm going to draw an endpoint below my point S, and then I'll connect those 2 points with a line segment, and that will give me a pair of parallel lines for problem A. And there we have our parallel lines. And now let's move on to question B. I have a horizontal line segment, and I need to draw a parallel segment that runs through T. So again, you can see that point T is 2 units away from the end point of the line segment. So I need to make sure my line segment stays 2 units apart from the original line segment. So now I'll draw a line connecting T to this other point. And now I have a horizontal pair of parallel lines. Moving on to question C, I have a diagonal line segment, and I need to draw a line segment parallel to that runs through point U. So again, I'm going to start by looking at the end point of the line segment and how it relates to point U. It is 2 units apart. So if I go down to the bottom part of this line segment, I know that my new line segment also needs to stay 2 units apart. So its endpoint will be right here. By keeping this distance constant, I know that I will draw parallel line segments. So now I'll connect those 2 points to make the parallel segments. And here are my parallel lines that are running diagonally. And let's move on to question D. I have another diagonal line segment. I'm going to draw a segment parallel to that starting at point V. And again, you can see that the end point of the original line segment is 2 units away from point V. So we will move down to the other end of the line segment, drop down 2 units, make a point, and I'll connect these 2 points to make my parallel line segments. And there are my parallel line segments. They stay 2 units apart from start to finish. Looking at question E, we're going to draw a parallel line segment, and it will run through point W. Now if we look at point W, how it relates to the end point, you can see that it crosses this square on a diagonal. Okay, another way to look at that is if I go up and over, I can go from one point to the other. So this is a little trickier. So if I go to my bottom part of the line segment and I cross over the square in a diagonal movement, I should end up with a parallel line segment. So I'll connect these 2 points to make my parallel line segment. And that looks good. Let's do one more for problem F. I'm going to make a line segment parallel to this segment, and it will run through point Z. So if I look at point Z, so let's look at it this way. If I start at my end point and I move over 3 and down 1, that gets me to point Z. So if I go to the other end of the segment, I'm going to go over 3 and down 1. And that will give me a line that is parallel to line F. So I'll connect those 2 points. So here's our line segment. Another way to show that this is parallel is if we look at point Z and how far away it is from the line segment, you can see that it is 2 1/2 units. If we drop down to the bottom part of the line segment, it is 2 1/2 units away from that point on our new line segment. Now you'll notice that the line segments are not the same length in this picture, and that is absolutely fine. We just need segments that are parallel. The length does not affect whether they're parallel or not. The next question says to draw 2 different lines that are parallel to line B. I'm going to start by looking at my line and finding a point on that line that is exactly at one intersection on the grid. So for example, right here, we're right on that intersection. This is going to help me draw a line that is an equal distance away from line B all the way across. So I'm going to drop down 2 units and draw a point. And then I'm going to travel up line B and find another intersection exactly on the line. Let's look at this one right here. From here, I will also drop down 2 points. Now I know when I connect these 2 points that I will be drawing a line that is parallel to B, because it will always be the same distance across from line B. So I will connect those points now. So here's my line running through both of those points, and it is parallel to line B. Now we need to draw another line parallel to B, and this time I'm going to go above B to draw that line. So I'll start the same way. I'm going to look for that intersection. I'm just going to go right back to the same point I used for the first part of the exercise. And this time I'm going to go up 2 units, make a point, follow along that line to the other intersection, and go up 2 units, make a point, and now I'll connect those 2 points to draw another line that's parallel to B. And there's my second line parallel to B. And again, the purpose of this lesson was to use that concept that parallel lines always remain the same distance apart, and that helps us draw those lines to make sure that they are parallel to each other.